Hello and welcome to another episode of The Wealth Within Us. Today I'm talking with Chris O'Brien, and he is, I'm going to call an water expert, and he's also going to give us a lot about money and wealth. So why don't we start about introducing yourself?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. And hello, everybody listening and tuning in. And it's been quite a journey to get here for so many reasons. I grew up here in California, Orange County, born and raised. I had your growing up lifestyle of just school, athletics. Basketball was a big part of my life. Basketball was forefront. My father was my coach. He was also my teacher. I had the blessing to receive that wisdom from him over the years. Played college ball. So played college ball at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. After I graduated there, I attempted, and I haven't looked back since, to go work a 9 to 5 corporate America job, which was cool. Gave me some insights, gave me some feedback on what perhaps I didn't want to do with my life. And I also learned a lot. And by the 10th month there, I decided to step away from that. And I was still in shape, still playing, still active. So I went and played professional basketball. I actually got an opportunity to play in Mexico a year after college, which was incredible. The experience culture was great. And then the last month is when life started to shift. I got very sick. So I was about 25 years old. You don't expect to have colitis, acid reflux, eczema, hay fever allergies, horrible lactic acid, like they call it delayed on muscle onset soreness, DOMS or DMOS, where
You
I
did
was
that
so
while you were in Mexico? So this happened while you were in Mexico.
it was probably an accumulation of habits throughout my life, and then it just really snowballed. And the last month or so I was there is when I had horrible pain,
Mm.
night sweats, acid reflux. I mean, it was just, what medication could I take to get by? Because I still wanted to finish the season and so forth. And so then I came back. Obviously, I was approached with, hey, do you want to go antibiotics? Do you want to take this medication? You can't eat these foods anymore. Sorry, Chris, colitis is a life thing. You're just stuck with it. That was one option. And I was like, okay. The other option was wide open. I didn't even know what the other option was. So I've shared this healing web too in the background. It's like I was presented this option, like the big pharma way, medications, certain restrictions. Hey, it is what it is. Take this for the symptoms. I didn't know about the right side. I didn't know about the holistic way, because I was still asleep, still wasn't awake to what was out there aside from your typical mainstream media of medication and prescriptions, antibiotics, and so forth. So at the time, a good friend of mine, her name is Jilly, which she's my partner now. And at the time, she told me about water. And my first reaction was a smile and a laugh. And I just shoot her away. I'm like, I have a Brita filter. What do you mean? I drink water every day. That's not going to help me. I'm sick. So for months, I was very stubborn and closed-minded, and then my health got so bad. I was just tired of feeling this. I eat a slice of pizza, and I felt like I was a breathing dragon. Just so much acid, and I got so bad that I finally said, "All right, what is this water?" And she said, "It's hard to explain. I'll just drop some off for you." And that's when it all started. I'm condensing this story because there's so many other details that would make you laugh. Started drinking the water within days. My body started changing within weeks. Certain things that I just described just started disappearing. And within months, I had almost like a clean slate of health. And it was baffling because my body changed, my skin, my hair, my nervous, just so much. And all I did was change water. Didn't change my food, didn't change my habits, didn't change my lifestyle, changed the water I was drinking. And that was in 2016. And I haven't looked back. And then that led me to a year and a half later, which I believe was a big part of this. A year and a half later, I had an out of body spiritual awakening for the first time. Remember, you're talking to a guy that has no clue about still meditation or astral projecting or out of body, what all this stuff means. And I'm outside of my body looking down at myself for 3 hours, December 2017. And then I come back in my body, and then this voice turns on. It's not a man or a woman. It's just a voice, as if instead of the word of God, it was the voice of God, you can call it. And I was shown a path. Finally, this other side, this right side, I was shown this other path. All of a sudden, acid, alkaline, pH, healing, detox, Dr. Sebi, voltage, minerals, CMOS, CBD, cannabinoids, psilocybin, like all of these things started just to pop into my field so fast. And I dove in. And then the craziest part is 4 months later, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And he was then presented, right, which way are we going to go? And he went, obviously, the allopathic way, which, he's not here today. it was hard. It was chemo, all the different things, thousands of medications, biopsies, transfusions, immunosuppressants. So amongst all this chaos that I was going through, I was coming out better, and I dove into books. I dove into self-development. I dove into myself, found myself, rose like a phoenix. And that's really like where the message I share is today. It's that whole journey of crashing and burning and rising and coming out better through something that I would have never thought would have triggered it, which was literally changing the water I was drinking. As crazy as it sounds.
Well, it's not
So,
that crazy because if you think about water, that's where we all start.
yep.
So we all start in water. So it kind of almost came full circle for you in a way. So it was that whole water experience that seems like it sparked this entire journey.
Mm-hmm. It truly did. Yeah. And learning more about the body and water. And like you said, we're bathed in amniotic fluid for 9 months. Like our bodies are 99% water at the molecular level, right? People will say, oh, 50 to 60, 70%. Well, that's the superficial extracellular water. There's deeper components. And then you get to even your DNA held by hydrogen. And it's like, well, hydrogen is so abundant in the body, hydrogen and oxygen. And so I started realizing what are two things, right? Two things that we do as humans, 8 billion people, regardless. I'd say, not without saying everyone, 99% of people, we breathe and we drink some type of fluid. I don't know many people that can live every day not drinking water. I don't know how long they would be around. And I don't know many people who would live a few days, let alone a few minutes, without breathing air. So for me, if we can't get those two right, fitness, like, the meditation, even the food, the supplements, those are great. We just tend to put that forward. Not everyone eats every day. Not everyone works out every day. Not everyone meditates every day. Everyone drinks some type of water or liquid, and everyone breathes. So when I connected that dot, it's literally your spark and your transmission, your battery to your car. You can have a full tank of gas, pretty tires, a new Ferrari, yet if you have no battery and you're out of gas,
Yeah,
you're not going anywhere. So yeah, it truly is fascinating when you connect how much out there is connected inside, and much of out there is water. Is literally, we live on a water planet, and our bodies are water, and it's
it falls from the sky.
bridge. What was that?
It falls from the sky.
Falls from the sky. It's in the ground. Even air, like breathing. Yeah. There's 4 phases of water. Gerald Pollack talks about this. My partner studied this extensively. You have the liquid, right? The solid, ice cubes. You have the gas, which is like breath. And then the 4th phase, which they're discovering, it's plasma. It's called easy water. It's like the slimy, viscous state, like a plasmic state between a liquid and a solid without gas. And a lot of our health can be determined and concluded by the amount of easy water, which is negatively charged, easy water that you have in your body. So if you have positively charged water, if you have too many protons, if you're overly acidic, inflamed, oxidized, well, you get to the root of it, and that's usually where a lot of health issues stem from. So yeah, what is within is without, and there's many different phases of such. We just were never taught about water.
No,
glasses a day, and that's it.
And I've been going down this deep dive for water, which was also why I was so interested. And one of the things that you had mentioned, and one of the things in my own research I had learned about, was hydrogen water.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you use a machine, the Kangen machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly does that do so that I can help understand it and everybody else can help understand very clearly? And also then adding on, what is the hydrogen water compared to all of this? Because I've been reading how hydrogen water is really good for you as well.
Yeah, well, what I like to start with of just educating people on this, because I got 30 books on this stuff, and how can we take 30 books and make it into 3 minutes that a 5-year-old can? That's the hard part. There's so much science, there's so many perspectives. If you could just condense it where a 5-year-old could get it, that's where we then can really make a lot of progress. So first, I tell people, the process of creating molecular hydrogen, simply put, is through a process called electrolysis. And electrolysis, ionization is more of you're putting a positive or a negative charge by splitting the water molecules. Electrolysis is the byproduct of that process is molecular hydrogen, which is like an H2. It's a gas. Mm-hmm. This has been around for a long time. early 1900s, the Rockefeller education medicine actually got rid of electrolysis, believe it or not, because they knew how potent it was as a therapeutic for humanity. You have places like Russia, Germany, were like the frontier, like the forefront of this technology. They used it in hospitals. I've even read in literature that they use ionized water, for example, to clean Chernobyl and clean the streams and rivers of Chernobyl and the people with poison, radiation poisoning. Because you get to radiation poisoning, it's a surplus of protons. It's the positive charge. These are free radicals, cytotoxic free radicals, which we know are not good for us. We can't stop it, right? Because even just exercising and living, we produce these byproducts. So how can we slow it down, reduce it, and so forth? So they would implement this in hospitals with patients, and then doctors got a hold of it, and then it made its way to Korea and then to Japan, which a lot of this ionization technology, because there's many ionizers out there. Like and this is good because the world needs to wake up to these things. There's tons of ionizers out there. They've been around for decades. Kong's been around for almost 40 plus years. It's just we're now waking up to it, and less than 1% of the world even knows about it, let alone drinks the water. And why it's so amazing is because there's different places in the world. There's Lourdes, France. You can look this up. It's like the Fountain of Youth, the Zamzam Valley, in Pakistan, the Hunza Valley, where they live over 100. They have Nordenau, Germany, Miracle Water Springs, Telacote, Mexico, where people line up with buckets to drink the water. And they call it like glacier water, glacier milk in a way. And it's water that is structured. So it's hexagonal, water that is smaller. The way to measure the surface size of water is dynes per centimeter, which is fascinating. And many of us are drinking water where the surface level is way too big, so it's harder to absorb. A common term you'll hear, which I don't say much because one word can mean so many things, like microclustered, smaller water. It's just smaller surface size. So usually around 40 to 45 dynes per centimeter. It helps with absorption.
So
Other
if it's not
properties.
being absorbed, you're literally just peeing it out, right? So and it's not giving any kind of nourishment or anything then to your cells or your organs.
Yes,
Is that correct what I'm saying?
you're right over the mark. So you're basically describing what's called extracellular
Uh-huh.
and intracellular water. Extracellular water is the water that is around of our cells. So if I'm a cell, it's the space around me, right?
Okay.
So bottled water, a lot of the even RO water, filter water, they're great filters, absolutely filter first, yet they're not going to get inside of me. They're going to float around me. So when they float around me, that's where people can now have water retention. They may feel like they're still thirsty. They're going to reach for more caffeine for energy because the energy of water is not actually getting to the powerhouse of the cell, which is mitochondria. And that produces the ATP and all that stuff at the quantum level. So I would say if I just guess, 98% of the world right now drinks water that doesn't actually hydrate their cells.
And I think in one of the videos that you had shared, it was saying how most of us were not hungry, but we use food to fill, we're dehydrated.
Yes. Yes. It's not like you're hungry or thirsty. You may not be sick. You may just be thirsty. And there's a book. It's one of the most famous books. You're not sick. You're thirsty. So many things can be covered. Remember breath, even breathing. You're hungry. Take 10 breaths. You're probably just oxygen deficient. 10 of these. Oh, I'm not craving pizza anymore. And it's like, you know what I mean? And then, or maybe a liter of water, all of a sudden, oh, I'm not, I guess I don't feel like eating right now. And it's like we're so right there. And it's like so many of us, it's almost like you take a breath, hold your breath. Now go live your life. Don't exhale. Right? Don't exhale though. Go live your life. That's stress. You are stressing yourself out. You're basically strangling yourself. I call it your head is above water. So you're like trying to catch your breath. Your whole body wants you to get back in your body. And so what happens is whether it's hunger, mood swings, anger, fatigue, restlessness, anxiety, these words that we use to label it, right? Because once we put a label on it, you can medicate it, you can make money off it, and so forth. They're really just translations of I'm thirsty, not externally thirsty, right? Because the fluid around me, I'm internally thirsty. My cells, the trillions of my cells, are parched. They're literally like they're literally so thirsty. And that was another thing too in my research. In 2003, Dr. Peter Egger, he's probably a name not many have ever heard of. He won a Nobel Prize. He discovered something called an aquaporin. And it's cool because the name aqua, water, pour in, it's where the water actually comes into our cells. And this channel, it's like a canal, right? You ever seen it like the Panama Canal?
Yeah.
To get from the Atlantic, the external cellular water, to the internal water, the Pacific, you have to go through the canal. That canal in the body, right? That canal in the body is on all of our cells, and it is positively charged. It is positively charged. So what happens is when we drink positively charged water, even alkaline water with a positive, you see the positive right there. They tell us, they know this. When we drink positively charged water, it's like stopping that ship from going through the canal. Now they can't go through. So they repel, they go away. So all of your nutrients, like imagine this ship from the Pacific to the Atlantic. Here's the Panama Canal, the aquaporin. If your ship has your nutrients, it's got your supplements, it's got your vitamins, it's got whatever it is you take to be healthy, you're getting to the canal trillions of times. And if you're drinking it with positively charged water, RO water, bottled water, even spring water, if it's not negatively charged, even spring water, that canal or that ship is literally saying, okay, we're going to go find another way in. And it just keeps circling around, and then it gets excreted out. Go to the bathroom. Where negatively charged water, if this ship had a negative charge, all your supplements, vitamins, minerals, tinctures, tablets, whatever it is, it can now actually go through because a positive and negative are going to attract. The opposites are going to attract. It's going to pull that water in. Now the canals in the Pacific Ocean, which is inside of your cells, now it can deliver all that energy. Now it can deliver your nutrition. Now it can give you your omega-3s. So I tell people, it's like you could change your diet all day long. That's why I was baffled. I didn't change what I was eating. If I told you what I was eating when I got better, you would have probably went, that's not healthy. It was because the water I was drinking was able to dilute and remove a lot of that waste in me and also deliver the things that I should be eating over time. So I just love giving that visual, right? The aquaporin. And we don't know we have these things because we're not taught how our body works.
No,
we're not taught how our body works.
And I'm really interested in the positive and the negative things. So what are we naturally? So if we want to bring in negatively charged water into our body, then what are we just sitting here right now? Am I positive? Am I positive and negative?
Well, here's the well, it's not on these charts here. pH scale. Okay, this is what people associate it with. So the pH scale, remember, there's two ways to look at something. You could do it multiple ways for the sake of this simplicity: chemical and electrical. Chemical and electrical. A chemist and electrical engineer. If you put them both in a lab, they're going to do different things. They're going to see different things. Okay, this guy's going to see a formula. This guy's going to see a millivolts. So the pH scale, which again has been so undereducated and so suppressed with studies, alkaline diet, this and that. Yes, there are fallacies. Yes, there are gaps and holes, and use discernment with this information. Our pH scale is 1 to 14, right? Anything that's acidic is going to be below 7.3, whatever, to 1, and then so forth to alkaline. And our body finds a charge right in the middle. So we're neutral. We stay balanced. But because we live in such a society that is throwing so much acid, and I call it hydrogen ions, positive ions, stress, meat, dairy, and eggs, I get the benefits of them. There are hydrogen ions, H+, it's a positive millivoltage. Alkaline side is OH negative, right? Hydroxyl ions, so to speak. That's going to help get our bodies more into balance. Now, you could look at the work of Dr. Jerry Tennant, for example. A lot of people that do frequency healing, people that work with voltage, they will tell you that the pH scale is actually a measurement of voltage. So if you are alkaline, slightly alkaline, you have a more negative charge. And they discovered that a healthy cell should have a negative 20 to negative 25 millivolts. A positive cell, so a negative charge is clockwise. Okay. Once we go positive, because we take in too much bottled water, too much alcohol, too much stress, too much toxicity, too many bad foods, pollution, all the bad things. What'll happen is over time, the polarity will start flipping. We're going backwards now. Now we're going from a negative charge. We're crossing the threshold. Now we become positively charged. And that positive charge gives the environment around me an actual better chance of creating illness, disease, acid, autoimmune cancers, and so forth, because that positive charge. So you've heard this whole saying, no disease can survive in an alkaline environment,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
What they're really meaning is no disease can survive in an oxygen-rich, high voltage environment. And that's what was all mixed up in the data and the research. And that's why it gets so confusing, because many people buy alkaline water because they think it's good, which, okay, yet why? All they do is put baking soda in this. So it's a chemical change. And our bodies don't know what to do with that. So it does impact the stomach. It does affect the kidneys and so forth. So our bodies, depending who you ask and where you look, is ideally negatively charged. So is Mother Earth. Mother Earth, this is the crazy part, Mother Earth has a negative 20 millivolts on her surface, the same charge that each one of our cells do inside of us.
Yeah.
And it's like telling people, all right, you're grounding too long, Michelle. You've been outside way too long. If anything, we're not outside enough, right? Yeah. We're not grounded enough. And so if we can conclude that grounding, exactly, if we can conclude that grounding is beneficial, which is proven, because of the negative ions, the electrons we're getting, we can conclude that ionized hydrogen-rich water, molecular hydrogen-rich water, can do the same thing. So
it sounds like, so if you've got the positive, the alkaline water, and you're taking it in, it's only describing what's in that bottle. So it's almost like it's not describing what happens now that you put it in. So it may be that in the bottle, but now when you put it in your body, it kind of becomes something different. Is that right?
Well, if you're drinking positively charged water, and this is actually a good point. You've ever heard older people, 50, 60, 70 or older, they lose their what?
They lose their ability to heal?
And what else do they don't get too thirsty. Like they don't think about drinking water. It's the last thing they want to do. For at least a lot of people I've spoken with. They're like, yeah, like imagine telling someone who's 70 to drink a gallon of water, or someone who's 65 to drink half a gallon a day.
I never thought of that, actually.
Yeah, they'll look at you like crazy, right? And the reason, it's not because they don't have their thirst anymore, which can be from dehydration. Once your dehydration, goes, people just lose their thirst. Because what people will do when they drink Kangen or any ionized water, they'll say, well, I'm actually craving water again. My body is crying out for water. Like I'm searching for my water, Chris. I used to search for coffee. I don't want coffee because of this water. My thirst has come back on. So with older people and anybody for that, there's another perspective that I connected after reading some other research in these people, is that as they get older, because they've drank so much water that is lacking electrons, lacking structure, lacking molecular hydrogen, essential minerals. Water should have minerals too. Most of our water is depleted completely of minerals. Because they've drank that so long, their body has literally said, I'm done. Because every time they drink it, their body, because it's got to balance it, like you said, their body has to give up their own electrons to charge it. You literally have to say, hey, Michelle, hey, I'll take your advice here. Here's another $1. I've got to give you $1 away just so I can receive your advice. I'm not paying you. It's like I'm giving up my own money to charge water instead of having water charged for me. It's like you, Michelle, paying me every day $1.
Well, and I'm sure that causes like stress and inflammation just internally, which is so chronic. No matter what disease it is, it's almost all related to inflammation, which is related then to stress. So it kind of sounds like this can help balance that out as well.
Totally. And then you keep going further, a positive charge. Inflammation, inflamed, fire, acid, hot, too acidic, low voltage, oxidative stress, acidosis, chronic inflammation, dehydration.
Yeah. Well, and you want to know what's crazy? So I'm 50. So I grew up in the 70s, right? Yeah. And I was talking about it with my sister, and I'm like, I don't really remember us sitting down at the dinner table drinking water. I'm like trying to think. And I think it was. I don't know if it was something back then or whatever, but it almost seemed like we it wasn't like we were ever pushed to drink a lot of water. And if you think about it, when you went to school, you didn't get water, you always got this carton of milk.
Mhm.
So it's so crazy learning what I'm learning now as an adult. And I've been since my 30s, I think I've been awakening more and more little by little, but definitely a lot more in the last couple of years. But that was one of the things that I had thought of, how they just
Yeah,
give you milk and they don't give you water. At least they did back then. I think it's probably a little different now.
true. Yeah, and again, Rockefeller education, they got rid of electrolysis. Imagine serving hydrogen-rich water to kids growing up. We wouldn't have the health issues
Oh my
we
God.
wouldn't have, probably, I'll say 99%. I don't like going all or nothing. We wouldn't have many of the health issues kids face, and we also wouldn't have many of the health issues adults face, because these adults were kids 30, 20, 40, 50 years ago. And all they had to do is swap out medicine and put in a for pasteurized milk, not even raw, pasteurized poison, which creates more acid,
Yeah.
leaches minerals from us, the very opposite of what living electrolyte reduced water does. And that's the scientific name. So yeah, and then
Or
also too, go ahead.
or obesity, like childhood
Yes.
obesity is so like I remember when I was a kid, like no one was overweight.
Yep.
And
So
now,
many
and I
toxins.
have kids that they're 21, but still I remember there were many more kids now that are overweight. And again, they're probably thirsty because
Yes.
they're not getting that, but they're feeding that thirst with food instead of good water. Now, how
Exactly.
about here's another question I have for you because I'm all in the water. So
Yeah.
I've been reading too about living water, water
Mhm.
that's like flowing, or I've seen these other little tabletop machines or whatever that spin the water.
Mhm.
And also, as I'm talking about that, I'm also thinking of, and I think he was from Japan as well, the guy who did all the pictures of water, that if you spoke to
Yep.
it negatively, the kind of structure of the water would break up. And if you put positive thoughts in the water, it created these beautiful kind of geometry, which is kind of all along the lines of sacred geometry, which we didn't even touch, but along those lines.
Yes. Masaru Emoto.
Yes, that's what his name was, Emoto.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. My partner, Jilly, was actually at his school 3 years ago, went to his school in Japan. We have a picture, just side note, we have a picture
Oh,
of the
nice.
Kangen water under his $80,000 microscope that he used to look at the water crystals. I could probably see if I can find it for you really quick. It's a perfect hexagon, and all around it is like, it's like, it looks like the sun,
Oh,
one water
yeah.
molecule of Kangen, which is so incredible. So back what you're saying is, yes, there's so many different ways that water can be expressed. And for some people that are listening to this, like, well, I don't have a Kangen machine, or I still drink bottled water. Like, what can I do right now? Michelle just answered it for you. It's actually taking a moment and speaking life, gratitude, thankfulness, just simple, I love you to your water. Because Masaru Emoto, what he did was he discovered that putting different frequencies, sounds, attention, body language, just all these different things that you would do with a human,
Yeah.
son or daughter, mom or dad, friend, coworker, whatever we do to each other, we're actually doing to our waters. And our waters start talking to us. So if you start telling, you hate someone, one, you hold that grudge, which is heavy, and your water now gets a little unstructured. And two, that hate is being projected out to them. They may feel it in a way. And so praying to it, thanking it, like you said, vortexing it, where you're spiraling it, getting that polarity going. People put it in copper, right? Copper pyramids. There's like
Oh,
orgone for
yeah.
water,
I
where you
put
could put the
shungite
orgone.
in my
Yeah,
water.
shungite, exactly. These are
Another
all
thing is
great.
you can take like masking tape or some kind of tape, and I've done that, and you put it around the glass or whatever you're drinking out of, and you write something positive or you write an
Yeah,
intention on there.
absolutely. Fantastic. Because or you can sulk, oh, this bottled water is killing me. Well, if you're saying that, then yes. Do LA, your words are powerful. And that's what I'm so obviously sharing a lot on my page too. Our words matter, and our water remembers, holds memory, holds structure, remembers what we say. There's a great page on Instagram, Veda Austin. I don't know if you've ever seen her work. You would love it, Michelle. She actually takes pictures and we'll put the picture under a petri dish with water for a few minutes, take that off, put it in the freezer. She will flash freeze the water. The water in the petri dish will slightly freeze into the picture that it was sitting on. It is the craziest
Oh
thing
my,
ever. She
that,
does
yeah, I had to look for that.
she does it with so many different. There's no, you can't argue it. You
No.
can't say it's fake. You can't explain it, because water is almost to a point where it's unexplainable, and yet it's something we use every day. We don't know. It's like there's an actual alien in our bottle right now. Like this water can do so many things. So that's what she found along with Masaru Emoto's work. When you learn those two aspects with images and words, that's our life. I mean, we're on a podcast now. People that are listening, you guys are
Yeah.
hearing our words. And sometimes you'll probably get Michelle too. It's like, oh, I got the chills, or oh, that resonated so much. Could that actually be your water in your body reacting and responding and structuring
I thought about
really
that.
fast, right? So we could, the
Yeah.
water code, they're the different water codes. So with all that said too, yes, praying to it, copper, vortexing, all great. I say do that with the Kangen, because there'll be some people out there, so I don't need Kangen, or I don't need ionized water. I don't need hydrogen water. I just vortex my tap water. I'm like, okay, that's good. And you can also vortex Kangen. Like it's okay to do both. I really urge people that are listening to this to look for synergy out in the world, because if we keep, because I've been in the water field, like I know what all the machines do. I know what everything does after 6 years of this, and there's a lot of attacking on both sides. Like, oh, Kangen's not this, or oh, that device is not that. I'm like, guys, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
It's the water bottle industry. It's the government poisoning our streams. That's where our attention should be. Like there's 99% of the earth still drinks electron deficient, unstructured, plastic riddled, contaminated chemical full of water.
Yeah.
So getting on the same page and synergy is so important. And yes, you can do all those things in the meantime to bring life and structure and love back into your water for sure. Yeah, very good point.
Yeah, and I love what you were saying too, because I also feel the other part of the puzzle that you brought in was sound and frequency. So I
Yes.
think there's a whole entire field, we don't have to go into it, but there is a whole entire field of frequency medicine and sound healing. And if you've ever gone to a sound healing session or anything like that, which I've had the fortunate to do that, I mean, go and do it, because it's incredible how it just washes over your body, these
Yes.
frequencies, because everything is frequency, and like you just said, water is frequency as well.
Yes. Well, there's a thing called, I'm sure you've heard of it, Michelle, somatics. Have you
Hmm.
heard somatics? So they usually use sand a lot to show the how like you put sand on a plate and the
Yeah.
different hertz will change. When you do it with water, it's a whole different show. Most people don't realize that sound itself actually travels best, not in the air. It actually travels best in water. And
Wow.
that's why whales are so amazing. And that's why whales, their sound can be heard hundreds and hundreds of miles. I don't know the exact statistic. I just know that humpback whales, these whales are so majestic. Their sound in their ocean can literally, I think, travel the ocean. I wouldn't even be surprised if studies found that out to be true, because sound and frequency, vibration actually moves the most fluid, fastest, and smoothest in water. And of course, what a better way to create our bodies that are 99% water at the molecular level. And if we can conclude that and everything
Yeah.
around us is frequency, vibration, and energy, like Tesla said, and that travels best in water, which is us, well, isn't that the recipe for health? Because yeah, these frequency tools, there's like Heelys and LifeWave patches. The big thing that all of these products say to have the effectiveness is what? Make sure you are properly
Hydrate.
hydrated.
Yeah, exactly. And I've even seen that certain animals, the way like honing pigeons and stuff, that we actually have this built-in GPS inside of it, inside
Yes.
of us as well, that's been shut down.
Yes. Yeah,
It's crazy.
it is wild how we literally, there's a term EMF. I know, obviously. I want to remind people that EMF is not bad. NN EMF is bad. Non-native EMF is the missing, just like pH, right? Alkaline
Okay.
is bad. There's alkalis. It's a whole different, it's like a two letters. So
Yeah.
NN EMF is non-native. That's like dirty electricity. That's like our Bluetooth stuff, our 5G towers. EMF just stands for electromagnetic frequency. Everything has that charge. We give off, our brains, our right brain, the right hemisphere gives off EMFs all the time. We are constantly calling in. Just haven't been taught this because, back to Rockefeller education, they don't want us to know how we work. If we know how we work, we wouldn't need as many of the things as we think we need because they sell it to us. So EMFs are important because that is a part of healing. Where we have alpha waves, beta waves, theta, delta, gamma. Most people don't even know what those are and how they're in beta all day long. So we're giving off these signals and we're also receiving signals. And it's so crazy to think that we're enamored, right, by this technology. We're enamored by cell phones. Why? I can send a text message to Michelle so fast. I can call Bob on Zoom so easy, or I can send Nancy an email in a minute. We're so fascinated with that because we literally do that ourselves. I'm sure you've done this too. Is like you think of someone and they text you.
Yeah.
It's like, how does that work? Oh, it's just coincidence. No, you literally sent a message. You have a little pinging tower. Now, what happens though is people, when their energy starts dropping, when they start getting acidic, when they start having low voltage, when they start, depending on caffeine and alcohol and vices and junk food and toxins, their signal, right? We get pissed when our signal's down on our phone. Their signal in their body gets weaker. Now they're not sending messages. So now life's happening to them. Now life is not in their favor. Now they've lost connection to God. Now they don't feel connected to anything. And that is what out there is trying to keep us down so they can keep us sick. So if you raise your energy, hydrate yourself, get the minerals going, get your enzymes firing, clear your body, clear your channels, open up your meridians, tap into the present moment, you can create some amazing things. And then we call it law of attraction manifestation in the spiritual community. So it's like bridging science and spiritual, right? That's where I love being the bridge of that, because I never knew about the science. I'm learning it now. And then I woke up to the spiritual, and instead of this or that, it's synergistically. They work hand in hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, EMFs are very powerful and great healing tools. PAEMI frequency, pulse electromagnetic frequency, vibrational acoustics, Tesla techs, Tesla coils. It's pretty incredible where we're going as a collective, and it's going to be new for a lot of people though. At first, it's going to be new language for many.
And I
Yeah.
think what's interesting is people are familiar with terms like, well, I'm manifesting this, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. And where I've been going recently is that, well, what does that mean? Like,
Yes.
how does it happen? Because you can't just sit here and think about something and it happens. So it's like, I've been definitely into this side of thing. And it's kind of like what you said. Well, I know this term. So now I'm trying to match the science that has been stripped away from it. And
Yep.
well, how is this actually working that I am manifesting wealth, or I'm manifesting the person I was thinking about to just call me out of the blue when it
Yes.
really wasn't, and all this stuff. So I think there's a big connection with all of that as well. Once you start going deep and understanding how manifestation works, like you just said, it is all based on frequency and vibration and the words that we're telling us and all this other stuff, and the systems in the body and what happens to the systems in the body
Yes.
when you treat it this way or you think or act this way. So I'd love your thoughts on that.
You just answered. I don't want to be careful, be picky with my words here. You just got closer to your answer. And the reason you got closer to your answer is because why? You asked what?
Question.
There you go.
Yeah. And I'm a big one. Question everything. Don't just take what you're
Right.
for granted.
So here's why it's so important, because to get answers like you just asked, right?
Mhm.
Law of attraction, manifestation, all of it's cool. Just how does it work? Right there.
Yeah.
That question, right? What happens is we ask that question and then we put it on ourselves to go figure it out. And every time we put on ourselves to go figure it out, the answer gets pushed farther away. So
And I
back to
think most people are focusing on the result. They're focusing on the result of it, not the path or the mechanics to get there.
exactly. And the
Yeah.
reason that happens is we like to control our outcome.
Mm-hmm.
We like to choose what we see. We like to, our egos to deciding. So I'm now explaining to you the left hemisphere. The left hemisphere of the brain likes that. That's where it thrives. It likes hearing itself talk. The right hemisphere, totally different. There is no end all be all, start here, end here. It's everything. It's all things. So just to backtrack on that too, is you have something like the chat AI thing and Siri, right? What are we doing to these devices? Like, how do you code a computer? How do you build a website? What do you do? You ask a question, and the computer, the software, the AI, Siri gives you an answer.
Mm-hmm.
The asking of the question is what your left hemisphere, Michelle, in one way, asks the right hemisphere, which one can say is God in a way, right? The question, because of biblical references, I can name 10 references. Ask and you shall receive. Ask correctly in my name and you will get the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you ask questions, you will get answers. And that's quantum physics. That's Dr. Wheeler, pioneer of quantum physics, says the reality that we live in today. The fact that this podcast is happening with Michelle is because Michelle at one point in the past asked Chris, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? There's no other way we'd be on here.
No.
I wouldn't magically click 10 a.m. on your link. Where'd this come from? Oh, hey, Michelle, do you want to talk? That doesn't happen. It happens because you ask the right question. So yes, being a question master. Now, the hardest part of asking questions is listening. Because usually we ask a question and we go seeking, we go searching, we go finding, we go reaching, we go chasing, we go reading, we do all these things instead of just listening and being aware. And what will happen is your right hemisphere, right? Your right hemisphere will send the EMF out. Remember that? Right? So that's your computer. Okay. Your Michelle asks the right hemisphere, God, whatever you want to call it, to send out a question. And then your right hemisphere will go out, send the signal, and will pull in things in your environment to give you the answer. It might be a billboard. It might be a sign that comes on the radio. It might be a page on your Instagram that you've never seen before and you never realized you were following that actually talks about quantum mechanics for the first time ever. That comes from just comes from being aware, being present. Because if you're not present and aware, right? And there's I love this analogy from the Alchemist. Have you ever read that book, The Alchemist? Remember with them holding the oil?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Imagine me just staring at the oil the whole time. Will I be aware of anything around me? Nothing. We'll just see the oil. The oil is our ego. We like to be right. We like to make sure we see what we see. When you look up and you put the oil down and you're present and you're breathing and you're hydrated and you're grounded, which is easier said than done, you'll actually meet someone for the first time that will say, hey, I have this answer for you. Or, hey, someone told me to send you this. And you will be baffled what will start happening. I do this daily. I've done it for years. So I can explain it because once you practice this and you start doing it, all these other things outside of you, seminars, workshops, books, Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, you get it.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part, because they either know it and they're not telling us, or they don't know it and they're doing their best to try to explain it to us.
Or cover it up. I think that's
or cover it up.
Yeah.
Or cover it up. Because as soon as you learn it, you don't even need them. I said, you don't need me anymore, Michelle. You don't. Michelle, you can unfollow me. You don't need me anymore. Go live your life. That's what I want for people. That's what I want to teach people, and that's what I want to share. So that's why I'm saying questions, quality questions. All right, because we can easily question everything. Oh, why is that so bad? Oh, that's so evil. Oh, why is that so bad? Those are questions, yet what is the context? What's your answer you're looking to get? You want to really know why it's so evil, or how can we make this better?
Yeah.
How can we improve this? That's what I like to speak. That's what I choose to speak, instead of why is this all so bad? Why are we so asleep? And like you said, it's a journey that to get to this flip in polarities, right? From acid to alkaline, positive to negative, all back to it, to get to that jump, that's something you discover.
Yeah.
Because you're realizing the answers you're getting in your life are based on the quality of questions that you ask.
And the willingness to be open. And I think, especially if you're a little older, like I am, the willingness to unlearn. Yes. Because once you start questioning the things that we've been taught, you realize that doesn't make sense. It's something that seems so simple that you just would have instantaneously answered. And now you answer it and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't even make sense to me anymore. And I think it's also becomes a process of this unlearning. And again, I firmly believe that you can only find it by going within and in whatever silence is to you. So you may be surrounded by all this stuff, but if you can block that out and you can sit still and you can sit silent, or maybe your silence is gardening, whatever your form of meditation is, wherever your thoughts that are coming in are pure thoughts instead of, like you said, this ego and these other things that are putting thoughts into your head, whether it be a program that you watched a while ago or whatever it was that you were taught in school. but it's listening for the truth and asking the questions and listening for answers that make sense. Because a lot of the answers that we get don't really make sense sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. So well put. Yeah. Sometimes the answers come in ways. It's like me giving you an answer in Spanish and you speak English. Does it mean it's right or wrong? No, it's the same answer. It's just in a different language. And what's hard to hear about that language, you said it perfectly, is well, that's why society programs us to only learn English and not Spanish. They don't want us to learn Mandarin. They don't want us to learn about living water. They don't want us to learn about herbs and these things. It's keeping people in a left brain boxed reality that's linear, start to finish. Here's the start line. There's where you're going to die. And hopefully you make it there. And we're going to give you some tips and tricks along the way to keep you on track. It really has nothing to do
And
with
meanwhile,
any.
we'll profit off that.
And meanwhile, we're going to, there you go. That's the system right there. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. So yeah, that discernment is very important for those that are listening. Discernment, your ability to filter out what resonates now, and that doesn't mean you got to discard it forever. Just say, okay, I'm gonna get back to that. Or maybe that'll come up again in my life.
Yeah.
And then the whole cognitive dissonance, which is the whole, like, it's like the pre-awakening phase. Like when you're starting to learn, okay, this is not normal. Okay, this is different. That you're starting the process. You don't have to go tinfoil hat all day long, 24/7. The world is upside down, inside out. You'll get there. You'll really get there on your journey. Just be open to different things. Cognitive dissonance is normal. It goes against your core beliefs, and it can be triggering. It can be very overwhelming. It could be scary. It made me mad for hours. I was pissed off when I learned about people in the government, who they really were, proven, because they made such many choices that impacted my life, and I was tired of it too. So yeah, all that spot on. That's the system in a nutshell, and it's very important. It's not always about adding, right? It's not all what can I add to my diet, Michelle, or what else can I do? Well, hold on. What are you currently doing that doesn't serve you anymore that we can just stop doing? Because more times than not, if you stop doing those things, there's not really much you got to add. The process of reduction, and that's what living water is a reduction aid. Like it reduces. It's electrolyzed reduced water. It reduces the free radicals. It neutralizes the acids. It reduces the inflammation. It's not adding more acid. It's not adding alkalinity. It's not changing your pH to alkaline. That's the misconception. It's reducing. And we live in such a world where it's so addicting to go forward and make more, do more, be more, work more, just more and more. Yes, there's times for it. And we've also lost this component of letting go, cutting off, releasing, just completely just detaching, words that are harder to do, easy to say.
Yeah.
It's not always what we can add, it's what we can remove. What can you reduce? What can you remove? Cut back. Someone asked me the other day at a retreat I was at, what about coffee? What about caffeine? How do I stop that? Should I just stop one day? I'm like, no, don't stop one day. Reduce slowly. So I said, Michelle, how much coffee do you drink a day? Well, I have 2 cups. Okay, well, tomorrow do a cup and 3/4. And then the next day, do a cup and a half for a couple days. And then by Sunday, do a cup. And then next Monday, 80% of a cup. I promise you, after 2 weeks, you'll look at your cup, it'll be like 30% of coffee. You'll be like, I don't even want this.
Yeah.
Because it's slow reduction. You go cold turkey, great. As soon as you hit a bump in the road or you have a sluggish day, just 1 cup, no big deal, because you didn't reduce. You managed it. You went really fast and you didn't go slowly. The process of reduction has helped me so much come out better organically without even having to think I have to add so much anymore. And sometimes when we do more to the body, our body knows what to do. And you know that. Our body has innate intelligence. It knows how to heal itself. We've just got to give it some space, some oxygen, some water, some sunlight, some earth, some nature, some presence. Give it a little bit and watch it start to unravel, like you said, and unlearn all the BS that we programmed our bodies to do too. Yeah, very, very good points. Love
And
it.
once you learn that, I've found, and not with myself, but other people as well, well, you don't go back. You
Yep.
you just, for whatever reason, you can't think that way again. You
Yes.
just can't think that way. And I've always said that the truth will set you free. And
Yes.
it's the most truthful thing is that the truth will set you free. Once you know it, you can let go of so many things. Once you see real truth, not fake truth or told to you truth or whatever. Once you
Yeah.
see real, genuine truth, it must have a frequency because you resonate with it. And now that the more truth that you see and learn and it's almost like those other frequencies, they try to come in and you're like, nope, it doesn't vibe, it doesn't resonate, whatever you said. And the stronger that becomes, the more free you become as well, free to let go of all this other stuff.
Yes, self-empowerment. Another really, really good point. Because a lot of people will take the truth of someone else and make it their own, and
Yep.
then it won't turn out a certain way. Then they'll go project and say that person lied to me. It's like, well, hold on. We're free will. We've got choices to make. We've got things we can do. And so yeah, that is such a very, very important piece that and I use this analogy too. It's like, you know how to ride a bike. Do you not? How do you ride a bike?
Yeah.
Imagine trying to unlearn how to ride a bike now. You can't. Like,
Yeah.
once you know how to ride a bike, why would you want to keep falling? Right? Imagine trying to unlearn how to drive a car. Once you know how to safely drive, you're not going to drive to go crash every time. Your body, like, you literally, unless there's something going on, obviously mental health. For most people, violin, it's hard to accidentally play the wrong, you know what I mean? So it's such a good analogy for truth.
It
Even
is.
for water too. Like, oh, you can't you just have like a sparkling water one time? I'm like, yeah, I could. It makes me a little anxious. Like, I don't want that. Like, I feel great. And sometimes it's hard for people to grasp, like, hey, just one little beer, or hey, one time. And again, if you've got great self-control and you feel amazing, go for it. Do your thing. It's just, that's what Michelle is really saying, is it's hard to unlearn something after we've learned the truth about it, to go back to those old habits of doing it, like falling on your bike. I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't think I could pay someone to fall on purpose over and over
Yeah.
unless they have some financials. It just doesn't, it's logically just doesn't make sense. So yeah, really, really good point on that too.
No,
Hard to
and,
go
and we're seeing it happen live in front of us. I think
back.
in
Yeah.
today's world, you're seeing like the truths, literally, they cannot stop coming out. And I see that momentum just gaining faster and faster, which is very encouraging, I think, for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. It
So,
goes in waves. I go back to water. I
yeah,
go back to water. It's hard to have, it'd be scary if, me, you, millions of others out there didn't have this. Like, imagine if we were still asleep, just talking about
yeah.
the left side of the outlook. Like, that would be a tsunami when the truth came out. But because millions are waking in
Oh yeah.
waves, a million, another million, COVID hit, another 5 million, another million, another 200,000. Because these waves, then when the big wave does come, there's enough people on the other side to catch those that are riding that one. Because
Yeah.
there will be a time where you can ignore it, hide from it, run from it, drown it, avoid it, close your eyes of it. It's not affecting me. It's not about me. We're getting close to that place where it may affect you in some way, big or small, and it's going to get your attention. And it's just good that Michelle, me, so many others that I'm sure people know have made that journey and can help them come out of that better. That's true. Like,
Yeah.
another part of my, come out of that old paradigm of thinking, falling on my bike over and over, to
Mhm.
now riding it, come out of that better. Because it'd be scary if it was all one wave. I'd be like, I hope it would be mass panic, like kind of what the pandemic did to us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the awakening, it's got to be waves. I was
Yeah. Or
watch the water.
it would be like if you woke up one day and just somebody told you, yeah, everything that you've just gone through is just, yeah, that's not your mom,
Like,
that's not your dad. You'd be like,
yeah,
what?
very
You would
damaging.
not be able, like, mentally, people could not handle it. But I
Exactly.
do see that it is gaining a lot of traction and momentum. And ironically, I think the 2020 mess really lit a fire under it.
100%. Had
I
to
think a
happen.
lot of
No
us were
one.
already on that path, and those of us that were, now we're like full speed ahead, but now everybody else, I think, is just catching up.
So good, because I always hold this quarter, or this silver dollar, when I talk with people, because the COVID in one way, right, tails, it could be bad. Worse, it was bad for me. I lost my father during that time. I lost grandparents, friend. I spare you. That's 5 hours of stories of how hard it was for me.
Oh yeah.
And at the same time, there's another side of it. It actually woke up the planet. It got people second guessing. It got people, wait a minute, why are they pushing? Like, there's no other way to do it without it, in my opinion, looking back. Like the closest thing we got to was 9/11, and that was even
Yeah.
heartbreaking, gut wrenching. And yet, look what that turned us into. It didn't flip the coin; it just made us more fearful, right?
Hmm.
It made us more scared of terrorism, more scared of playing, like more scared. So we gave up more control.
Yeah, more of
Well,
our freedom.
this pandemic is the opposite. It's
Yeah.
empowered us more. It's like, hold on, I'm getting healthier. Hold on, this is my business. You have no right to shut it. Hold on, like, you know, it's like it's almost empowering instead of deflating. And that's why it's hard to say though, because at the expense of it came lives, money, relationships. I mean, divorces. It's so sad, you know, the stories you hear.
Oh yeah.
And it also connected people to new people like me and you. It connected to new ways of living. What is frequency? Oh my gosh, water, what is this? Like that's why life is so beautiful, because there's so many roads to take. We all want the same thing, right? Stay alive as long as we can, be happy and love, all the things. Yet there's many ways to get there. And sometimes that path, like you said, Michelle, is not the prettiest, yet it's your own unique journey. And that's what you get to experience here. Life itself is the joy. That's life itself is the spiritual awakening. You know, life itself is the greatest teacher ever. In books, podcasts, seminars, social media is just like a little third party for it. Just like reminds us a little bit of what is and what
Yeah.
isn't. So yeah, really, really good too.
Yeah.
Great
And
points.
what people did during that time is what you had said earlier. People were asking questions. People more
Yes,
than ever started asking questions. And
never.
my sister and I, we lost our dad as well. And it was gut wrenching because we were so close. And
Mm.
one of the things that we say is that now he knows everything. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
It almost, it's like it was a weird empowerment that it gave us. It was like, and he did it, and now I don't need to be afraid to do it. And like,
Wow.
and then we often think like he knows all these things and stuff now that we're trying to figure out. And
Mm.
one of the questions we always ask is like, well, why did so many of these people, did they go to help us from over there? I know that's like whatever, but like, did they go? Like, why was it their time? Did they go to teach
Mm.
us? Did they go to come back? Did they go to teach us these lessons? Did they go to wake us up to answer all the questions that we weren't and they
Yeah.
weren't prepared to answer, and the questions that weren't getting answered, and when they were, the answers didn't even make sense. So I wholeheartedly agree. I could not agree with you more that this
Yeah.
is definitely the spiritual awakening
Mhm.
event, or at least the start of it, I think, for most people.
This is the
And it's
most
only going to get better.
I know, best is yet to come. It's like the most biblical time that we're living in. That's not 2,000 years ago. And it's
Yeah.
crazy because it's hard to appreciate and accept and experience now because we're in it. Yet, you know,
Mhm.
10 years from, even a couple of years from now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
already 2023. It's been 3 years. Like imagine 2 or 3 more years. It's almost a decade ago. And 20, then, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh. Then we'll look back and where we're going will be the lessons they always say, right? We as a collective, the human civilization, will keep making the same mistakes until we
Yes.
look back, not to go back, look back. That will help us move forward.
Yeah. Take
You
that
know what I
different
mean?
timeline, that different
Exactly.
path.
Exactly. Best is yet to come. I wholeheartedly agree.
I agree.
Wholeheartedly agree. And waking up to water and breath, those are two great pillars that we can all get behind, literally, because it's us. Where we are literally walking water, breathing oxygenated beings that are electrical and magnetic and vibrate at a frequency and a hertz and
Mhm.
a vibration and an energy.
Well,
So
tell
good.
us where we can all go to get
Yeah.
Kangen water.
Yeah, well, you guys can send me a message. My Instagram is at Come Out Better, so you can DM me there. I have a website with more information. You guys can dive in, comeoutbetter.com. So www.comeoutbetter.com. And then you can also email me, chris.wakewaterco@gmail, and I can get with you guys information about water, the Kangen systems, and even something if you want to share this, because I feel like the Avengers in a way, like I'm calling who wants to come on and help us, right? Yeah, that's the bad side. We want to help people come out better. If your heart calls to serving people, providing solutions, giving opportunities, a tool, like a tangible tool, as simple as water, which everyone drinks, and also you would like to get ahead of the curve financially as well and keep up with the changing times. Those are two things that I'm happy to offer you guys going forward. So at Come Out Better, comeoutbetter.com, and chris.wakewaterco@gmail. and you'll see all my other little social media platforms, Telegrams, Twitters there, and you guys can dive in at your discretion which one you want to dive into with me. So this
No,
was great.
that's, I think you are the perfect embodiment of the wealth within us, with our health, our wealth, and our mindset, changing our mindset, even opening up our mind. So I would love to have you back, because
Yeah,
I really would love to dig into some money stuff with you, some wealth
let's
stuff.
do it. Let's do it. There's so many water codes in money. Our financial system,
Love it.
old and new, will be is all surrounded by liquidity, cash flow, frozen assets, currency. It's pretty incredible how much abundance is there for us to take.
Well,
So
we've
I
already
love
got
it.
a topic then. We've already got a topic.
Love it. Thank you, Michelle. This was great. Thank you guys for listening. 11:11. Oh, just at 11:12. Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Perfect. And those are my numbers. Those are my numbers. I always see the 11s.
There we
Gateway.
go. There we go. Thank you very much.